Hi, I'm David with EV World News. We're talking about electric vehicles, green energy, and the stock markets. And I'm back today on Friday with our founder and chief editor, Bill Moore. How's it going today, Bill?
Yeah, it's going fine. Thank you very much. A little cloudy out, a little cool, but hey, it's just like weather in Seattle
Yeah, and wet. Yeah,
and wet. And we
yeah,
need that, by the way. So
yeah. Well, it'll help cut down on the fires.
yeah, we've
Like
had a bunch of wildfires out west. So,
it's like prairie fires, right?
yep.
Yeah, it just seems kind of wild to think about. You know, all of the what do you call them? The prairie bundles or whatever, go blowing along. What do you call those
Well,
things?
the tumbleweed. We don't have
Tumbleweed.
tumbleweed here. No, no, no,
No,
no, no. We have prairie grass.
prairie
Different
grass.
kinds of prairie grass. I mean, this is where the buffalo roamed. Where this is where wild, a Buffalo Bill. This is where he got his buffalo
Hmm.
this year. So, in fact, his home in the later years of his life was in North Platte, Nebraska.
Hmm. Um, let's see. Well, I wanted to talk about the first story I had, and I thought that was interesting because Bill and we talk a lot about AI on this show, even though we're a show about EVs. But
Yeah.
energy and AI are interconnected, right? I
Well,
mean,
now they are.
yeah, energy is the big energy suck that people thought EVs were going to be. Actually, it's a bigger energy suck than than they ever thought EVs would be. Um, People, places that had tumbleweeds don't have them anymore. Well, you just never know. The thing is, when people moved to Arizona, they all brought their own trees to plant in the yards. So you have um, all this foreign vegetation there
Excuse
in
me.
Brushville. But, anyways, so I was telling Bill there was an article I saw somebody mention or a topic, and so I went looking. I searched on Google, and instead of Google taking me to websites, it gave me an AI overview. And then I looked in there where it got its information. It got it from Reddit. So I went to Reddit. Reddit had a link to electric. So I went to electric, and they had an article that was about the topic that I wanted, that I thought was kind of weird how I went through extra steps to get to what I was after. But I wasn't just going to take the Google AI overview as the authority on this particular topic. But basically, Toyota, instead of calling their EV the Busy Forks, the one they have in the US, they're now just calling it the BZ.
The
Okay,
BZ.
it's little b, capital Z. Okay, and it just passed up for the first quarter of this year for non-Tesla EVs. It is number one. Toyota has the best-selling electric vehicle in the United States for the first quarter of this year. Isn't that crazy? We didn't see that coming, did you, Bill?
Nope. Nope.
No,
Not at all.
I was so shocked by the news. The number two vehicle is the Hyundai Ioniq 5.
Yep.
And that was, there you go. We stripped the ground. Well, that's how that all goes. Um, anyways, let's see. I know they sold over 10,000 units. I'm not sure if the article I found um, actually gives the actual numbers, but the Tesla Model Y and the Model 3 are still on top. But and the Chevy Equinox is expected to be close. Toyota's, oh, they're thinking the Equinox could pass it up. I do know that the total for the quarter was over 10,000 units
For which one?
of the BZ.
The BZ. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just like, where did that come from? And just like out of the blue, the Toyota BZ. It's a little more powerful, has new semiconductors from SiC. All-wheel drive models have 338 horsepower, a 50% improvement from the Busy Forks. And the front-wheel drives have 221, which is up from 201. So it's like 10% more. But that's a pretty big jump. I've always wondered, Tesla has always had so much horsepower in their EVs, right? Because the incremental cost to have a more powerful electric motor is tiny. And so it kind of makes sense to
Yeah.
make them more fun, right? with the extra horsepower. But a lot of the other brands just haven't done that. They look at what is the least we can get away with, and that.
Well, there's the other aspect to this too, is that you can remotely control the amount of horsepower you let a car have, and if you want faster, you can subscribe to a faster car, to a bit, to access to more power. So that may be what's playing out here too.
Yeah, well, when you're getting that instant torque, so the instant torque makes a big difference too, as opposed to just pure horsepower. Because normally if you had a gas car with like a twin turbo and all that, it takes a few seconds for all of that to kick in.
Spin up, yeah.
Yeah, and it takes time. Anyways,
speaking also of Hyundai, they are debuting here, I think, shortly, 2 new Ionic models, which obviously were going to be electric. So there's still development going on in the EV market. So
yeah, there's no shortage. Yeah, here's and like I said, I've not really looked at the Toyota BZ much because I was always a little disappointed in its range, its horsepower. It always seemed like Toyota was being a little silly in their approach to EVs, when in theory they're the leader in almost everything else except big trucks. And it's not like they don't have good trucks. They do have good trucks, but you would have thought that they would have been the leader all along in the EV space. But you got them here starting at 35,000 and in about 38,000 here for one with a 314-mile range. That's pretty big. That's a pretty good price for that kind of range. I thought that was something exceptional.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And of course, the Owen mentioned the Solterra. So Subaru has introduced a new version. So I think it's a six passengers, whatever. Anyway, 3-row version that apparently was originally built on the Toyota platform, but now this is apparently their own developed platform, if I understand correctly. So there's starting to get some traction and some competition from, instead of having Toyota build it for them, they look like they're starting to work on their own models.
Yeah. Well, I think, Owen, that's one of the ideas behind having all-wheel drive, is that all-wheel drive simply, makes the wheels not just sit and spin. But anyways, I thought that was just crazy to see because, we've been seeing Ford be number one. We've been seeing GM be number one. We've seen Hyundai be number one. Did not see Toyota sneaking in there.
Yep. Well, the other thing, too, is I just saw that Tesla has now replaced BYD as the largest seller of electric vehicles. So that, now whether that was just the Chinese market or whether that's globally, I wasn't quite sure on, but that's the headline I caught this morning, was that they've now surpassed BYD again and recaptured the crown as the largest seller, at least I would assume in the last month, since we're not, well, I guess officially we're at a quarter, right?
Yes, it was in world sales.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah. Once again, just when we think Tesla's hurting, and you see something like that.
Well, did you see the headline, however, that there are 50,000 unsold Teslas sitting on their lots?
Might be a good time to get one.
It might be a great time to get one. Yeah, these presumably those are new cars. I don't know if that's used, but presuming it's the new cars that have been coming off the assembly line and not getting sold.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's start with some more Elon Musk news. Let's see. SpaceX files for massive IPO. Could make Musk the world's first trillionaire, at least trillionaire by today's financial standards. So there's been a couple people in the past that there's been theories that if you extrapolated their wealth to modern times,
Right.
maybe they would have been a
One
trillionaire.
of them was a West African king.
Yeah, the King of Mali or whatever.
Yeah,
I don't know what his name was, but I just know that it was the Kingdom of Mali.
Yep.
Yeah, it was him, and there was I think maybe one of the Rockefellers. It was somebody from like the 1850s
Probably.
who owned all the railroads.
Railroads and oil. Well, railroads.
Yeah.
Who had the oil company? Standard Oil.
Yeah,
Was that Rockefeller? Thanks.
yeah. Good luck
Yeah.
there, buddy. You know, people are forgetting about you already. You know, it might have been wealthy. Didn't matter. Anyways, SpaceX filed confidentially for an IPO on the 1st, targeting a June 26 debut with a $50 to $75 billion raise at a $1.75 trillion valuation. I see in private groups I'm part of where people are still trying to see if they can buy at the 1.25 trillion valuation and get in on it. And apparently there's people saying, hey, there's a spot over here, you might be able to buy some there. And it's very interesting to see these people because, you know, if you buy at 1.25 now and in a couple months, it'd be different.
$141, huh, for a barrel of oil? Yeah. Saw a headline where it won't be. It's not unrealistic that we could expect to see $200 barrel of oil, and the poor folks, including my daughter in Seattle, paying $10 a gallon.
Wow. Yeah, all those electric car drivers probably laughing at all the gas car drivers.
I got to thinking, you know what? We have 2 electric cars here. You know, my first electric car, we were going to sell it. My wife said, no, let's keep it because she wanted a car to drive. But I just told her today, I said, you know what? We maybe ought to think about sending it out to our daughter if it gets to $10 a gallon.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? I mean,
yeah,
you figure a typical fill up for most people is probably around 12, 13 gallons. That's still 12 gallons. That's $120.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. The diesel will make everyone pay. Yeah. The company, this is interesting. My AI just said that company values itself at over 1 trillion, but which is comparable to Saudi Aramco's 2019 IPO at 1.7 trillion. That's still, you know, I already know they're at a 1.75 on this round. So I thought that was, yes, happy Easter, happy Good Friday.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, while we're speaking of SpaceX and space, our congratulations to NASA for the successful launch of their mission to Mars, and the crew did successfully.
Not Mars.
I'm sorry, the moon. Thank you.
Bill.
We're not going there yet. Okay, to the moon, right? Artemis 2. Apparently they did have a couple of glitches. One was a temporary communications glitch. The other one was with their high-tech toilet. That you don't want to have a problem with, obviously. 4 people on board for 10 days. Yeah. But anyway, congratulations. I was just looking this morning, they're about 87,000 miles away from Earth and rapidly closing at a rate of 4,200 miles per hour on the moon. So that's exciting. We're getting to go back to the moon. Godspeed, and hopefully everything goes well for them and they get a great view of the backside of the moon. That'll be pretty awesome.
Yeah. My understanding is they're not going to land on it. It's just.
Oh, no, but that's first step. You know, we didn't do that with the first Apollo missions, you know.
No, it just seems hard to fathom that now we're doing this
50 years later. I mean, I remember that. I know exactly where I was when Neil Armstrong stepped off that ladder and said the famous "one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." I mean, I remember that keenly. So that's one of the advantages of growing old, I guess. I get to see him go back, which is pretty cool.
Do you think they'll see the Chinese mining on the moon already?
I don't think so. They did have a small problem with their last mission, orbital mission, if you'll recall.
They did.
Oh yeah, they
Yeah.
just barely got the crew back.
Yeah. Oh man, that's well. It obviously it's pretty tricky. There sure has, NASA sure did lose a lot of astronauts over the years. So
Well, yeah, but most of those were just the early, the worst one, of course. Well, yeah, we can talk about the shuttle mission. That was serious, and that's probably lost the most. I mean, there was the Apollo mission where we lost Gus Grissom and the rest of the crew when they had that fire on board this vehicle while they were testing it. So, yeah. Other than that, I think that's the only that, and then the shuttle mission is the only one that I can think of where we've actually lost, crew members.
Yeah,
it's dangerous. There's no getting around it. These guys, these men and women are extremely brave, and I say, Godspeed. So,
all right, let's see. So, Tesla's Q1 deliveries were down 14% from the year before, or down 14% from Q4 of 25, but up 6% year over year. So Tesla delivered 358,000 vehicles in Q1, which missed Wall Street's estimate. But Musk says his prediction is coming true. Approximately 80% of Tesla's value will be Optimus, the humanoid robot. Model S and X production has ended. Fremont factory converting to Optimus manufacturing with a 1 million robots per year target.
What are you going to do with them? I don't know. I am highly skeptical. I will remain so, I guess. Maybe when I'm in an old people's home and they don't have that's who takes care of me. I hope it looks a lot friendlier than what they got now, because that scares the hell out of me.
Drift. I haven't seen anything with Joe Rogan talking about ruins on the moon, but Bill and I both used to be fans of Art Bell, so we loved hearing different people come on and talk on Art Bell stuff. So.
There recently, who was it had increasingly there's more and more talk. I just saw a podcast here last week where they were making there was a guy named Richard Hoagland, if you all remember, who thought there was pyramids on Mars and things of that nature, but also they were looking at various of the photographs. Apparently there are, when they did the Clementine mission back to to photograph the moon, so you can go into Google moon and you can explore Google moon to your heart's content. But supposedly what they did is a lot of those areas that they photographed, they have blurred out. And of course, the question is, why did you blur those areas out? That was an artifact of, the transmission of data and yada, 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 whatever. Back when actually found, when the early version of the Earth, Google Moon, I actually found a track, a roadway across the moon. Looked everything like, where if you were building a road on the moon, it looked everything like a dirt, country dirt road type of thing across the moon. Wow, what's this, And so there's all kinds of weird things that unexpected lights, things in the sky. If you look at the original Apollo mission photographs of the sky and you enhance them, there are things in the sky that are not stars that you see up there. One of them, in fact, if you play with the Photoshop, it looks like a trapezoid, a triangle, the sort of thing. So I'm just anxious to see, are the guys on Artemis, are they going to have the same kind of phenomenon, following them there and back? I don't know. We'll see, but it's interesting. But that's well, maybe not, because how are those things powered? Right. Presumably some form of electrical energy. I don't know.
Never know.
Here we are, off the track again.
Yeah. Tesla energy storage, battery storage deployments for like grid scale, they're
Right.
at 8.8 gigawatt hours. I would not have guessed that. That is a pretty big number.
Yeah.
8.8 gigawatt hours of battery energy
That's
storage.
equivalent to what? If a nuclear power plant is 1 gigawatt, did you say?
Yes.
So that's eight nuclear
It'd be
power
equivalent
plants.
of almost 9 cooling towers.
Yeah.
But I mean, that it can only store an hour's worth, right? So it's not quite the same thing.
Well,
But
it's
still,
not quite the same, right?
yeah,
You got to make
but it's a
sure
big
that
number.
you
You
got to
know,
make sure power
Tesla,
comes back on.
yeah, Tesla's pivoting from cars to AI, autonomy, and robotics as core value drivers, but their energy division still does a lot. I remember we had somebody even come on. It's like, well, don't they only sell cars? And it's like, well, no,
No,
they sell insurance data. They sell, you know, energy storage systems. It's kind of
and
interesting.
and they make money off the clean energy credits. A
Hmm.
lot of money, or at least they used to. I'm not sure if they do anymore, given the current administration, but they made a
So,
lot of their money off of the energy credits.
so this is an interesting stat. So for first quarter of 26, Rivian delivered 10,365 vehicles, beating their estimates of 9,600. They beat Ford by 40%. Yeah, I mean, it's like, when you hear that EVs aren't selling, it's like, for some reason, the dealership model just isn't working. I mean, the dealership model, except for, we had some success there with Toyota, but the dealership model is not working for electric vehicles.
Speaking of which, the state of Washington is now letting Rivian and Lucid do direct to consumer sales,
Yes.
which the legislature made that exception for Tesla some time back. They have now officially are letting Rivian and Lucid do the same thing, direct to consumer sales.
You know, I don't know what to think. You see issues. Musk seemed to be good with the idea of eliminating tax credits on electric vehicles. But I think part of Musk's thing was, what did he think was probably good for the US government? Because of the problems that the government has with the debt and all that. Although, if you've ever heard me argue about other issues, maybe the debt for the US government isn't as big of an issue as we like to think. We do have sort of a cash flow issue, but on the flip side, the US government has crazy assets. So,
Right.
yeah, like I said, I don't know that he was really that.
The other aspect of that too is because he has such a large margin in building his cars compared to Ford or GM, that he can do away with, I would assume, those credits and still be able to beat the other OEMs in the total cost and sales of his vehicle. So it might be, he says, well, I'll just cut off the thing that drives sales of GM and Ford vehicles. I'm the only one that can still make a profit at it.
Yeah, but I don't. We all knew that it was going to reduce sales when it went away, but maybe not by as much as it did. I mean, really was a big number. But we've also previously looked at how this played out in Germany, and it took Germany almost a full year to recover. To get to where EVs were at a higher growth rate than they had been with the subsidies. So that took a while.
I'm seeing a lot of new headlines now that are coming up on our feed that shows an increased interest in electric vehicles in the United States, and that's driven, partly obviously by what's going on with oil prices. So I would assume
Well,
drags
look
out.
at the increase in web traffic on EV World.
Well, yeah,
I mean,
that's we've
doubled.
I don't know, we've increased, maybe I haven't done the percentage, but we've probably seen a 40%, 50% increase in web traffic on the site. Yeah.
Yeah, since the start of the Iran conflict.
Yep.
Yeah, it's actually a pretty big deal. Um, yeah, it was just kind of a weird thing. Oh, I don't like to get too deep into politics on here.
No.
So we usually try to leave that out. I mean, we make comments on policy, but we try not to just get into, things that are too deep that way, because that's not what our show is about. But this whole thing about Rivian beating Ford, I think is pretty
That's
big.
it. That's it. Of course, they stopped manufacturing the F-150. All they've got at this point is what, the van and the Mustang Mach-E. Here in the U.S., overseas, that's another thing. So,
yeah, and you're always welcome to post whatever you want in the chat. That doesn't bother us. But anyways, yeah, and it's funny. I had something. My next one was about Rivian and Lucid of Washington State, but we've talked a little bit about that previously. Yeah. Let's see.
Yeah, let's talk just a minute. I'll inject while I'm in here. The Stellantis, which of course is the old Chrysler, thing, is now considering taking their plant, their car manufacturing plant in Ontario, and beginning to build in collaboration with Leap Motors, which is a Chinese EV manufacturer, to start building those cars in that Ontario plant. And this is raising some hackles in North America, particularly within the Canadian government. They're not sure they actually want to have Stellantis convert that plant over to, instead of making whatever they did, minivans or whatever, convert that over to manufacturing Chinese vehicles. But it could be the first opening salvo of getting those much desired, at least we think, Chinese vehicles coming into North America.
Yeah, this one's kind of funny. And Drift, I don't know if you're being sarcastic or what, but don't all of the charging stations for you run off a coal-powered electric grid?
No.
How does that make sense? You know, the U.S. electric grid is only 18% coal. It's really...
Let's make sure we talk about the newly expanded Southwest Power Grid.
I have that on today's list. I just
looked at the power generation just minutes ago. It is surprising.
Yeah. Now, in all fairness, Drift, if you really want to know what powers the U.S. grid, it's liquefied natural gas. Okay. So we're not going to pull any punches here and pretend that it's wind and solar. It is liquefied natural gas is the big one.
And it depends on where you're at with at least what particular grid you're on.
Right. Yeah. But our U.S. grid is predominantly LNG. And then what is it? Coal's only 18% of the grid. LNG is about 50%. And then if you take nuclear's around 9 or 10%, and wind and solar and hydro are about 20%, something like that.
Can I pull up the share my screen?
Yeah, share your screen. We're going to look at now. This is the Southwest Power Pool. Now this is basically kind of the Midwest.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Why it's called Southwest, I don't know. It was probably for like Southwest Iowa or something when it first started. I don't know.
Okay, let's see if we can find it here.
Yeah.
Southwest Power Pool.
Now, Bill and I both live in Nebraska, and interestingly, the year-round, the number one power source for Nebraska is coal. We're like 30% coal. But yeah, so if you look here, the green on Bill's chart is wind power right now.
Wind power. Okay, this is the Southwest Power Pool had just on April the 1st expanded nearly, well, not quite double, but nearly double. It's now primarily, it used to be just the central part of the U.S. Now it's also the Intermountain region, clearly as far as over into Washington State. So this is what it is. This is the eastern zone, which is Dave and I live in right now. So you got wind is at 58%. Solar down here is at paltry 2%, basically. Nuclear is 5.5%, 6%. So on. Of course, natural gas hydro, and coal. Okay, that's that power grid through the center part of the U.S. Now, let me shift over to the new part.
Hey, Bill, what is hydro in our
hydro is primarily the Gavin's Point Dam and the
But
dam
what
along
percentage
the
does it show?
Missouri
What
River.
percentage does that show?
You want me to go back?
Well, you still have it up on the screen, but I can't read it. It's too small.
Okay, so nuclear, or let's see, nuclear hydro. Hydro is, you can just
4%?
barely see it. Yeah, you can just barely see it. It's 4.3%. So
Okay.
very little.
So, well, yeah, no, actually, but nationwide, I think hydro is only something like, whatchamacallit. I think it's only like 1% of the U.S. power grid overall.
Oh, yeah. Well, again, we're talking specifically on grid. So let me go over to
The
the new
Gavin's
part.
Point Dam produces that much of our electric mix.
Yep.
Wow, I had no idea.
and other dams up the Missouri River. So, okay,
Yeah.
This is now the Intermountain part. This is the part now that has been included as of April the 1st, included now in the Southwest Power Grid. And I want you to notice something here. There's coal because Wyoming has a bunch of coal, right? In fact, most of the coal that we burn here.
Really?
What's that? So here's coal, right? Down here's diesel. I'm surprised actually some people burning diesel. Here is hydro, nearly 20% hydro, okay? Natural gas, 15%. Solar, 16%. That is 4 times, is that right? 4 times? Yeah, 4 times what it is on our side of the mountains. Wind, 19%. So if you combine these, what do you got? You got
100.
Well, you got 100, yeah. But I'm talking about wind, solar, and hydro, right? Hydro, renewable. Wind, renewable. Solar, renewable. So primarily, the Intermountain area is the majority of the energy right now at this moment. Okay, could change because of weather conditions and things like that. But right now, it's considerably more energy coming from renewables than it's coming from fossil fuels. And then over here, of course, you got wind. 65% of the power that Dave and I are enjoying right now is coming from wind power, not coal. Coal is a fraction, 13%, 14%.
Drift, the primary argument against wind and solar is they take away from fuel sales. That strikes me as being the number one thing, is it really cuts into the profits of the oil and gas companies.
Now, my heart bleeds.
Yes, I get it. But, one of the things, wind and solar have their place. And this is something, there's not one ultimate energy source, unfortunately.
Oh, no.
And so people want to talk about, oh, this is better than that or whatever. It's like they all are a tool in the energy toolkit. And people want to argue about, wind is bad, solar is bad. I will tell you, we've talked about this weird stat. The biggest, let me see, the highest rate of deaths from an energy source is hydroelectric. Mainly because of dams breaking. And, nuclear has very low causes of deaths worldwide from nuclear accidents. But it's really considered to be
it's the legacy problem.
Yeah,
right. It's the legacy problem.
Like coal, we've talked about this one. Per terawatt of power, coal kills like 24 people. Per terawatt of power, oil and gas kills 18. Nuclear, wind, and solar each kill about 0.03 per terawatt.
Yeah,
I mean, it's ridiculous. So I'm not a big fan of just taking over prime agricultural land, but a lot of things. So I'm working on a solar project in Florida. We're doing an apartment complex. We're putting in 360 solar canopies for parking.
This is a brownfield project, right? Basically.
I don't know if it qualifies for that or not, but we will probably sell some of the power. So we've got.
But you're using it basically it's the top of buildings, which is ideal space, and a canopy over a parking lot, right?
Right.
That's it.
Yeah. So it's an area that would have, we're simply, you're going to have carports in Florida or Texas anyways, right? Or Arizona. All right. So you might as well have solar on those things.
Yep.
Now, we also have a commercial area. So that apartment complex is going to be 1.5 megawatts of solar power. Now, that one is just the canopies. In the commercial zone, we have a couple blocks away, which is 100 acres. We're going to have 12 megawatts of solar canopies and rooftop solar. But it's a use of space. It's providing extra energy. We're going to have battery storage. Will that be 100% of the energy used in that manufacturing place? No. The energy is still going to have to come in on the lines to provide power at certain points, because solar doesn't work as well in the wintertime. It doesn't work that well at night, so there's a whole lot of things that, but Bill and I have shown, and this is something, if you watch this much, Bill's making mead. Well, Bill has this thing, Bill likes bees, and, oh yeah, we get hail.
There's
my
Bill mead.
But we talked about, there's a thing called agrivoltaics. So what you do is you're doing agriculture, and you might be doing beekeeping, sheep herding, but you don't have the solar panels down at the ground. You have the solar panels 10 feet up in the air, so it provides the animals.
Or in my arrangement, you just mount them vertically.
Yes, that's an argument too. Yeah, we have hail. We have bad hail where we're at, and I've never gotten damage to my solar panels ever. I have had windows smashed out of my cars that were outside from the hail. It was that heavy, but it didn't damage solar panels.
Yeah, if you look at the economics, it makes a great deal of sense for a farmer. That's why we saw so many farms here in the Midwest, particularly on the other side of the river, where if you drive between here and Des Moines on Interstate 80, you'll see all kinds of wind farms, right? And we're seeing more and more here in Nebraska. There's a certain area where they predominate. You don't generally see them driving on the interstate. But if you study and you ask a farmer, which do they make more revenue from? They're going to generally tell you that they're on a per acre basis. They would make more money selling electricity from wind or solar than they do from those corn or soybeans, because the market for energy, as we know, is a pretty steady and probably even increasing amount of increasing cost per kilowatt. Corn and soybeans are like this, and right now they're down here, partially because of trade embargoes and all kinds of government manipulation, which the farmers here are hurting because of those policies. So if you give them a choice, hey, I'm going to pay you so much for my wind turbine on an annual basis, I'll take that. It's not going to eat into where I plant my corn or where I graze my cattle. And the same thing with solar can be designed to do the same thing. So take a look at the economics of what makes sense. Selling corn at a loss because of increasing, even if they can get fertilizer now, right? Urea is all tied up because of the blockade in the Straits of Hormuz. So where are they going to get the fertilizer? And it costs so much in terms of the energy in oil that goes into planting those crops and fertilizing and putting herbicides on those crops. It just makes that ground, much of this ground that is being used for corn and soybeans, ought to be just simply turned back and put for grazing cattle. And in my favorite, give it back to the buffalo. But that's another story.
Yeah. It's Drift, I assume you're talking about EV batteries. And, here's something kind of interesting. A used EV that's been in an accident that goes to insurance auctions fetches more money than a gas car because the batteries are worth so much money.
Yep.
So people originally people thought there was going to be this mass market for recycling batteries, And the problem is there isn't, because you
Oh,
can't get batteries to recycle because they last forever, pretty much. And if they come out of the car, if the car is deemed no longer useful, then they're sold for energy storage for battery farms. And that's actually my next thing I'm going to talk about. But there's not hazardous waste. They can be recycled. I couldn't tell you how many people I've had reach out to me wanting to know if I could help them find ways to find EV batteries to recycle. And it's like, they don't really exist because people buy them because they're so valuable as energy storage. Now, the funny thing is the battery prices keep crashing. You know, people seem to think that lithium is expensive. There are refined types of lithium that are incredibly expensive that have nothing to do with EVs, but they do have everything to do with nuclear and fusion and fission,
or medicine.
Yeah, or medicine, but they don't affect EVs. But yeah, so
and increasingly we're starting to move away from lithium and going to just simple salt.
Yeah, we got sodium ion batteries, we got graphene batteries. I think graphene is going to be the one that conquers them all, but we'll see.
We'll see. Yeah, I'm not sure at this point.
Yeah, I just signed an advisory agreement to a graphene battery company, so I'm going to be pro graphene for a while here. Okay, you can follow the money on that.
Okay, follow the money. Small nuclear reactors, and now we've moved on to graphene.
Yeah, it's US based graphene battery manufacturing.
And I'm a mead maker, and there's my brand, Marvel Mead.
Hopefully the ATF isn't watching, Bill.
I don't sell it. I don't have a license. I'm not legal to sell it, but I can let people taste it and share it. Yes.
Yeah. Remember, alcohol is the most regulated thing in America. So people think the ATF is mainly about guns. No, it's mainly about
it's about alcohol.
It's alcohol.
Yeah. Nope. Yeah. I'm not in the selling of it. I'm in the experimenting and learning how to make it. So that's all. Maybe someday I would, live long enough, I could think about actually, making a business out of it. But right now, it's just a hobby.
We've had a couple of big news. We had the news about Rivian overtaking Ford. We had the news about Toyota overtaking everybody. But yeah, so I found the article. Tesla, for the first quarter of this year, did regain the world's top spot in electric vehicle sales.
Yep.
So while their sales rose 6.5%, BYD's dropped 25.5% in the first quarter. And so putting Tesla back at number one in terms of units sold. Tesla sold 358,000 units, which I'd mentioned earlier was less than the 365,000 that Wall Street had hoped.
Yeah. What do we call?
Are you in Mississippi? Are you in Mississippi Drift?
Oh no, it could be in Pennsylvania because they have ABC stores, particularly on the East Coast, that is controlled, government controlled.
Yeah, the liquor business is weird because how liquor and beer and wine are sold is so different in every state, and it gets bizarre.
Well, the guys that started farming and moving across the Appalachian Mountains. This is in the early, formation of the United States after we became independent of Britain. Over in the Ohio Valley and places started growing corn, but how the heck, when all you can do is transport, bushels of, of corn, what do you do with it? So a lot of them just simply said, we'll turn it into a liquid. And it's a lot easier to transport liquid. So then they got into the whole moonshining thing. And then you had, I forget, there was a short rebellion sometime around the late 1700s.
Shades the whiskey rebellion?
What's that?
Well, there was a whiskey rebellion.
Yeah, I think it was the whiskey rebellion. Right. So they had to start cracking down. I mean, people are still doing it. They're still moonshiners, right? You haven't outruled it. When I left West Virginia after being there for 5.5 years, I was given a gift, and I may even have that jar around somewhere still, a jar of double run moonshine. That was illegally brewed. There was no official labor on it. Some guy that just befriended me says, "Here, before you leave, I want you to take some moonshine with you." God, it was terrible.
Yeah.
tasted like rocket fuel.
Yeah. Drift, that comment about in Minnesota, Trump winning 78 counties and Kamala winning
Oh God, let's not
those
go
other counties. This is kind of where the divide is a little bit in the United States. So you have one political party that's more about the big cities, and the other one that's about all of the rural. And it is really interesting. We have these huge gaps in the two political parties that are to the point where the topics they talk about aren't even similar. What the concerns are completely different about both parties. It makes no sense because if you go back like to the 90s or the 80s, both parties were arguing about who had a better method of defense, who had a better foreign policy, who had better budget, who had better tax plan, and all this. They were both arguing about the same thing. It's like we have the better version of this, we have the better version of that. Now it's not. Now it's like the other person's an idiot, and everybody should be concerned about this instead of that. And it's really
we will try to avoid. I mean,
getting too far.
being such strong Trump supporters. How come he sent ICE there and ended up killing 2 innocent people?
Yeah.
Anyway, but let's get back to EVs.
So, I've only got one more topic I want to talk about.
Okay, good.
Battery energy storage overtakes hydropower globally. Didn't see that one coming either.
I haven't seen that one.
We got a lot of wild statistics today, and this has been kind of fun because I'm a stats guy, and it's really crazy. So battery storage, it now exceeds hydropower capacity. 2026 projected to add 130 gigawatts in a single year, with China leading the way. The energy storage report highlights grid forming technology, fire safety, and bankability as key trends. Now, the fire safety thing is original lithium ion batteries can catch on fire. LFP batteries, not so much. Sodium ion and graphene batteries, not at all.
Not at all.
And so it's Drift, you could go look at just a map of red and blue and where people voted it on the whole country. And it's crazy. It's like 90% geographically, but a lot of the country, nobody lives there.
Yeah.
So, I used to live in North Dakota. Hardly anybody lives in North Dakota, but it still has, 3 electoral votes.
Yeah, Minot.
Yeah, Minot, the tragic city.
Let's see, Fargo, North Dakota, and Minot.
Yeah, Grand Forks, Bismarck.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyways, a shift towards longer duration designs. The UK added 1.8 gigawatts, which isn't much compared to the 130 for the world. Germany's merchant-only market with no subsidies proving BESS is viable on energy arbitrage alone. So one of the things a lot of people don't know is what you can do with the batteries in certain environments. You can buy energy at night and then resell it during the day to the power company at a higher price. Yes, it's okay. It's okay. If I would just totally ignore you if I thought what you were saying was inappropriate. We get plenty of inappropriate comments some days.
Yes. Yeah. I every now and then we just simply delete that person. Yeah.
We did a combined show with a really popular podcaster for right-wing news one time, and the comments were just ridiculous. I mean, it was really hard to have anything that was shareable because some of the stuff was so just out there.
I mean, it's obvious we have a bias towards electric vehicle technology and the panoply of different issues that surround that, where the power comes from, what the resources are, how it's used, what policies the government does or does not implement, all of that. So there is politics involved when you talk about electric vehicles. We just try to present the view that, because obviously we favor them. We're not against them. You know, they're not a panacea for everything. Frankly, I wish we had more bicycle paths and things that encourage people more to be actively mobile rather than having to jump in I just get so tired of seeing great, big, huge pickup trucks and SUVs cruising down, and there's one little 120-pound woman in it. It just seems such a waste. Now, I don't expect her to be riding, a bike when weather's cold and trying to get to her, job at the insurance company or the school or whatever.
No, but it is crazy to see how many people are out by themselves or driving around in a Suburban or an F-150 or whatever, and if you see a crew of 4 guys in an F-150 with towing a trailer to a job site, that makes sense, right? That's what that's designed for. But you have so many people that buy big vehicles simply because they might use it once a year.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been guilty of it. I've talked about this in the show before. I bought I had to have the biggest engine and the biggest towing package possible on my Expedition so I could tow a boat that I had never ended up buying.
Yeah.
And I never once towed with that damn thing in all the years. I bought it new and drove it till it got totaled.
Yeah.
So,
in Tennessee, right?
Yeah, in Tennessee. A doctor, I won't say what, anyways. A doctor, I think I don't know, he was either texting or he fell asleep as he was leaving work and drove right through. He blew a red light and right out in front of me in a zone where the speed limit was 55.
Yeah. So it's a good thing you were driving an Expedition.
And he had a new Audi. I'm pretty sure that had to be completely replaced.
Yeah.
He was lucky. I was able to take enough evasive maneuver. I didn't hit his driver door.
Yeah.
And I went, his vehicle basically mostly scraped or it T-boned me in the side, but I had been able to swerve or I would have T-boned him. But anyways, you're still getting some snow, man. It's miserable here. This is something interesting. So for starters, if you had an all-wheel drive, like Model 3 or Model Y, it's going to outperform in the icy and snow. It's going to outperform any gas car as far as driving in those conditions. You are going to have some range issues, but you can, there's steps you can take to minimize those. Most of the time people have had problems. It's usually been rideshare drivers, because there was that big news about people in Chicago having problems. They were all Uber rideshare drivers that were renting the vehicles and using superchargers. They weren't charging at home. They may not have been doing some things right. And some of the chargers were down.
And in cold weather affects lithium batteries. It's just, with my Chevrolet Bolt, when it was really cold here this winter, I got down to like 2.4 miles per kilowatt. Now I'm up, because the weather's gotten mild, now I'm up to over 5 miles per kilowatt hour. Nothing changed. I didn't do a bigger battery pack, just it got warmer out. And lithium batteries like nice warm weather. They're like us.
Yeah, but think about this, Drift. If you're in northern Minnesota, you probably don't have a lot of gas stations around you either. So if you could fuel up your car at home, like most EV drivers do, and you don't really have to worry about charging stations.
Yeah,
there's plenty of charging stations throughout the United States now.
Yeah, something like 88% of all EV owners charge at home.
Yeah, it's just that is one. If there's really a super negative to being an EV owner, it's if you live in an apartment complex and you don't have regular access to charging. It's really not a good fit.
Then you're going to have to go find a public charger. You're going to pay 2 to 3 times what you would if you're at home. I've got an article on the website about this very issue. So go over to EV World and scroll down. So
Bill, we've really gone over today. Hey folks, thanks for chatting with us. Thanks for everybody watching, and I hope everybody has a good Easter weekend, and we'll see people on Tuesday.